Hi, it's Jason from Feature Radiators, and today we're going to take a look at how to generate a heat output requirement for your room. So every room in your house can be heated to a comfortable level, and the radiator is your primary piece of equipment to do it, but it's not just as easy as picking a random radiator size out. You could have 5 radiators all at the same size that all throw out a different amount of heat, and that's to do with the surface area of your radiator. So what we need to do first of all is to work out what heat output's required to heat your room to a comfortable level, and that will depend on the type of room you're trying to heat, but generally it's between sort of 18 and 20 degrees. So we're going to use this room as an example. This is our clearance room, so if you want a real bargain of a radiator, this is a good place to have a look. And we need 3 key measurements to be able to look at the calculation. For purposes of doing this, we're going to use meters. So we need to work out the length of the room, so that's the longest size, which we'll take a look at now. So we measure the length of this space. I've already pre-written the figures in there. So it's 3.8 metres long, and there's a little bit of depth of the skirting boards added on. And then we need to measure the width of the room from wall to wall. Again, I'm going skirting board to skirting board, and just adding the depth of the skirting boards. So we measured that out at 2.5 metres. And then we've got the height of the room as well. So if we just roll that tape up there to the top, and we've got a height of 2.4 metres. So once we've got those figures, we multiply them all together, and we get 22.8 metres cubed. The calculation's different for different types of rooms as well. So for example, the measurement for a bedroom or a hallway would be less than the calculation for a lounge, simply because you're heating the room differently. So a hallway, you're just walking through it and keeping it aired rather than heating like a living space. So we're going to imagine this room is a lounge, and for a lounge you multiply this figure by 50, which gives us a total amount of 1140 watts. So with the measurement, you generally measure it in watts or BTUs. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. So watts are prevalent worldwide, where BTUs are quite common in the UK as well. If you just think sort of kilometres and miles, that's a good way to have a look at it. With BTUs, it's quite easy to convert your output into BTUs. So all you do is take the calculation. So once we've multiplied that by the 50, we get 1140 watts. To convert it to BTUs, you just multiply the watts figure by 3.412, and we get 3,890 BTUs altogether. Right, so just to recap everything so we're clear. So what we've done is we've measured the length of the room at 3.8 metres, so that's the longest side. The width of the room at 2.5 metres, so wall to wall. And then the height of the room from floor to ceiling at 2.4 metres. So from that we get the cubic metres, which is 22.8. Then you factor in the type of room, so we're treating this one as a lounge. So we know we need to times 22.8 by a factor of 50 to give us the amount in watts, and that is 1140 watts requirement. And all we do to get it in BTUs is multiply the watts by 3.412 to get 3,890 BTUs as your requirement. Alright, so as you can see, a little bit of change of scenery. With your calculation that we've already done, it doesn't on there, so there's other factors that we need to consider as well. So one of those is windows. So if you've got double glazing, for example, and you don't have huge amounts of glass, you could normally take about 10% off the calculation we've done, or if it's single glaze, just leave it as it is. And windows are important because if you've got some large expanses of glass, so for example, if you imagine this is our living room, and we've got some nice radiators in the living room, that would be considered sort of a large amount of glass, and it's not like a normal wall in a house, it's like quite a cold spot in the room, so you need to factor that in. So if anything like that, French doors will make a difference. So anything like that, I'm normally adding about sort of 10% on top of the calculation, even if it's for double glazing, plus a further 10%. You also need to think about the location of the room as well in relation to the house. So, for example, is the room north facing? Now, an easy way to work that out would be obviously a compass on your iPhone, an app from the App Store, or if you don't have access to that, if you just remember that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, you can maybe work that out from how that lies in your house as well. So, other things to think about in location are, you in an exposed area? Is your house on top of the hill? Is it quite a windy area? Is it a detached house? So anything like that, you'd normally add on between sort of 10 and 15% as well. So with the calculation we've done, we'd be very, very confident that the output we've given you would provide a comfortable temperature for your room. There's other things like, for example, new build properties and eco builds, but we could discuss that further if you have any questions about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little walk around showroom and give you an example of a radiator that will give you the heat that we've calculated. So we calculated 1140 watts. So if we look, for example, this is our pod radiator. So you can have same radiator in different sizes. So with this one, it gives you 1944 watts. So it's quite a bit over the requirement. So what we could do is say, is there a pod radiator at a different size to give you the right amount? So if we went over here, we've got an example of a 3-bar pod radiator. So if we look at this one, this provides an output of 1165 watts, so that's a lot closer to requirement, so you might opt for that one. Now, we won't worry about providing a radiator that gives you more heat output than you require, because at the end of the day, once it's installed, if it's not right, you can't turn the radiator up any further. But if you've got more than you need, you can put a thermostatic valve on it to keep it regulated and you're still keeping your radiator efficient. So, as you can see, there are ways to calculate heat output requirements, and if you look online you'll see loads of different tools available, but what you've got to remember is that it's not an exact science on room dimensions, and there can be specifics to your room, for example, that we're not aware of. So we have got a lot of years experience in giving you output requirements, but we'd always say just double check them with an installer just to make sure they're comfortable and they're right for the room as well. So I hope that helped you. If you do have any questions or you need any more help, you could call us, email us, we've got online chat now as well, or you can use the comment section below.